To even begin to discern reality from mere glimpses of perception and conception is not only impossible but incredibly difficult to achieve alone. The sheer number of possible alternate interpretations and insights approaches infinity. As the number of eyes on a situation increases, the more interpretations you will find. The compounded impressions are only limited by their lack of imagination as to other possibilities. There is a tendency, when multiple viewers with shared experience are present, they will often have the same interpretation of an event or situation, a perception of a shared image. The shared experiences of similar perceivers or sensors only limits their capacity to come up with unique interpretations. The fewer unique interpretations you have, the less likely any of them actually represent the totality of the reality at work. Behind the scenes, there may be parties trying to give you a certain impression. You may be given a perception that will limit the possible categories of later interpretation of future events that would seem to fall into the same category, but could easily be interpreted in an alternate, more revealing fashion to be something else entirely. Perception, however, is not exclusive to presenter and presented, but rather is an independent process between you and that which you are viewing. While the presenter may manipulate the thought process of the viewer into realizing complete communication of an idea with the viewer, alternate unintended interpretations are always possible because the viewer is not the presenter, and the presenter cannot predict the interpretations of every viewer. Some statements are very convincing to some, while very ineffective with others. It is the duty of a good speaker to cater to their audience's desires in such that they will keep listening for the rest of the story. After all is said and done, the speaker is trying to convey a particular concept or idea in a manner in which is satisfactory that the audience will understand the point. The more encompassing the audience, the more variety the audience is a conglomerate of, the more things that audience will see, the more things that audience will understand. This means that even more avenues of explanation of perceived events become available. As the number of possible perceptions increases, so will the potential for distractions and tangents to possibilities. The more explaining is required, the more possibility for tangents of various interpretations to occur. However, each tangent is an expression, or a possibility of later expression, of an idea that is founded in the heart of experience, rooted in perception, and the realities that one has become capable of perceiving. The fewer possibilities are presented, the fewer possibilities will occur. By limiting or presenting anything as a series of alternatives limits the chances of anything outside the realm of these possibilities from being perceived, but it does not prevent other possibilities from occurring. The fewer choices you are given, the more likely you are to believe that you have no other choice. The actuality of the matter is simply that as the number of choices available is decreased, the number of alternate choices still increases, and the number of alternate interpretations always approaches infinity. The more you consider today, the more you are able to consider tomorrow. The more you think about, the more things come to mind as you think of things later. This means that the more thinking gets done, the more interpretations will present themselves and the more possibilities there will be for response. Response lies at the core of interpretation. Since there are so many alternate interpretations, none of them are powerful enough to compete with either of the few possibilities presented, since most people will vote for an interpretation that counts in a social sense, or bragging power, or avoiding shame, instead of with organized, informed decision-making. The fact that an interpretation counts as true reality or not is not determined by a vote. Humans may act in manners that abide by the boundaries they select by making a decision between the limited alternatives. This is only bad for the contraption that defines human perception, your mind. The more limited you see the alternatives in the world, the more limited you are to see other alternatives. Powerful beings can trap you in a state where you can see no other alternatives. There is always a more powerful alternative. To be trapped in a state of hiatus or suspension simply because of lack of apparent possibility is foolhardy. Anyone who becomes trapped in such a system and cannot seem to break the bounds simply has been unable to discover who their enemies are and have been continuing to trust the wrong people for their guidance as to actual reality. The people controlling your perceptions of situations may not be as trustworthy as they seem to be. Many figures present themselves as authorities on what the not only the best thing to do but also convince you that it is also the right thing to do. Meanwhile, most of the consequences of human actions pertain to self-preservation. And most of the actions these groups of humans take on a large scale pertain neither to their ultimate well-being, nor the well-being of the systems of life on this planet that support them. Since most of their actions are simply selfish, the average human being can be seen as little more than a thief supporting and electing bigger thieves to plunder for their continued lifestyle, as inadequate or unsustainable as that may be. No matter how much pollution gets caused by these individuals' petty desires, they seek individuals who can keep them placated within this system, which is all they know. It is reality as far as they are concerned. The problem arises when they come into contact with real reality that they wish to run back and hide in their comfort zone, where someone else bears all responsibility over reality and presents a pretty picture to believe in of how things actually are. This type of activity only works to limit perception of alternate possibilities, and is fundamentally what the statement is against. The only means by which humans can even hope to come to terms with the actual reality that is out there affecting them and limiting their lives is social, and the more connected we are, the more we have to understand, and the easier to seek out new and better interpretations of the events that are happening. The more we work together and harness and share our unique perceptions, the more quickly we can approach the truth of the situation that we find ourselves in. The more easily you can ascertain the actuality of the situation that surrounds you, the better able you will be to control that situation in such a way that you can be happy with all of the consequences and become satisfied with your contributions to the security of your future on this planet. Your own satisfaction is not sufficient. All parties affected must also know all of the details and also be happy with it. Hidden details must not be kept secret from those who stand to be affected, and that could be anyone. Everyone deserves complete information and complete understanding. The desires of the few, to pillage and pollute with complete disregard for the consequences the pollution has on other humans and other life forms, without regard for your life at all except the vote that it counts for, the devaluing of human life to a mere vote between two alternatives is a terrible system of control that must be ultimately stopped. It cannot be stopped by individuals already trapped within the confines, but it can be influenced by helping people meander through the confines of their own limitless perception devices that are trapped in their own heads. as their hearts are so misled by brand name images and confusing cute animated icons and logos that convey trust and harmlessness. It is in the face of such icons that we can be least likely to be comforted that we are receiving the truth. It is under the harassment of these icons children are so easily misled. It is under the barrage of these icons that people are enslaved into worshipping something that does not exist as having value save in the minds of those misled into believing that they can trust the icon. No one ever gets to see what they really think of you, these people who make decisions that affect and mislead your lives, who hide behind closed doors and soundproof glass and security guards, discussing your future and how to keep you from finding out their secrets and problems of cost they hide by dumping their toxic waste into the ocean, an ocean which becomes unsafe to eat out of because of the activities of a few invisible humans and your blind support of their icons and the funding you provide them to continue causing problems which ultimately affect the quality of your reality. They try to keep you down any way they can. They pound you into the ground, into smithereens with television and false messages while the real truth of the matter is waste and wanton disregard for your planet, your home, and your future. The only plans they have for your future is that you become enslaved in their system. The more slaves they have, the more easily they subsist, for now. Those who are intent on subsisting in this manner of becoming a parasite that traps its victims for life only to wield a profit at any consequence to any of the futures of any of the parties involved cannot count as government and must not be allowed to count as accurate perception of reality. When the world seen through corporate eyes and interest is taken for reality, every human being touched by the consequences of waste and corruption will suffer. Every human being on the planet will suffer for the decisions that you make with complete disregard just to be richer than anyone else. There is always a cheaper way to do something. The cheaper way always has less regard for the consequences. Every action that is performed can either contribute to the overall well-being of the system that is life on Earth, or parasitic and destructive to the system. Every decision for a cheaper price over a better plan is never a good decision for anyone involved in life on this planet. The fact that they can save you money by polluting your ocean is never presented as a binary choice. The fairness of the matter is withheld from you. The actual decision is kept from you, lest you manage to discover it. All motives of the corporation are for profit. You must know this yourself, that if there is ever a choice between alternatives, if they can find a way to get away with anything and save money, they will. If they can find a way to control 90% of the members of government from their corporate boardrooms, they will. If they can find a way to trick you into buying their product and never inform you of any of their questionable business practices, they will. If you expect someone is out there safeguarding your interests, you are dead wrong. They will trick you every chance they get. While they cut prices, they cheat you in doing so. You can only protect your interests by understanding them and being aware of them. Your interests are your future, your life on this planet, and your lives beyond this one. You must not have limited interests in only a few possibilities. You must not be merely interested with being fed and full. Your interests must spread from yourself and connect to everything that creates your existence, that it is and has become. You must be deeply interested in that which creates you as you are and what your actions will do as you create the you of universe tomorrow. If you fail to understand the system that created you, all the way back to the very beginnings of life, and the intention of that system being present in every life form, plant or animal, that these systems share a common interest, the petty profit-seeking interests of a few dumb individuals can defy the common interest of all life forms on the planet. These business practices may even be legal and upheld in courts of law that do not challenge the protected yet the legally wrong business practices. There is a larger force at work on the planet, and very few if any human beings respect it, very few if any human beings are even a part of it. It is your choice and sacred duty to become as close to your true position on this planet as possible, to become independent from all dependencies. To become truly self-aware, self-sustaining, self-renewing, self-defining, non-manipulatable whole of human perception. Working together in harmony to perceive reality and eliminate faulty communications and incorrect perceptions and conclusions from clouding the judgment of anyone. For without unity in this cause to defy manipulation and secretive practices, to demand total and public disclosure and truth, not simply what they want to tell you. To sink within a system of lies, deceit, and undeserved control without doing everything in your power to fight it is unacceptable. Together we can win. Let our concerns be with doing what is right, regardless of the cost, and a realization that the cost of doing what is right is unworthy of consideration. True freedom from the influence of faulty systems is worth any amount of work. You cannot put a price on how much it has cost to get here, and it will take many efforts to go ever further. The hardest thing to perceive is that there is a lot more that matters than ourselves, and the more that you can see, the more powerful you will be to protect that which cannot protect itself from the greedy and self-destructive interests of human beings.